Who's the creator, Tim?
Same God would be
Tim. Who's the creator?
The same God would be an
So you can't
indexical.
answer this.
So
Why are you being dishonest?
So you're being dishonest. You
Who's
said
the creator?
Tim, you're
literally.
Come on, man.
Same.
Come
People
on.
out there
Who
checking.
is the
Come on.
creator?
Because
he can't answer.
Look, I understand
Notice
you
how
don't
he's
understand
coping.
the philosophy involved.
He's melting down and coping because he can't answer who the
Melting down
creator
at all.
is.
You made up
This
that
guy
it
called me a
said
heretic 20 minutes ago, and I agree with him.
Muslims worship the same God as us would be by an indexical.
I'm a
Same
Unitarian
means
now.
that it says. If
Tim.
we use the word same, it would.
Do you
be,
want the attributes?
It would be heresy, and
It's
that's why
natural-
I said it wasn't
Tim,
in
it's
there.
natural theology.
If it says that
It's
they
your
worship
natural
one
theology.
God, then it would be correct.
It says
they
they
do
wor-
worship one God.
They worship God, who is one, living and subsisting in himself, merciful, almighty, and the creator.
Sure, they're adumbrating the Muslim view. I don't know
No.
why this
No,
is so shocking.
again,
You know
if
what?
If he said they
Lumen
worship a God, they'd be enumerating the Muslim view,
Tim,
but they say God.
Lumen
I think
Gentium,
it's right.
Lumen Gentium 16 says they
agree
adore
with
the one God. That's a term of worship.
I think
term of
they're
worship.
right.
The one God. They adore the one
agree.
God.
I agree
And
with
Pius X said this in his personal catechism.
So now you're deflecting
And
to
two medieval
You're
popes said it
deflecting.
too. You could take issue with the Roman Catholic position as an Orthodox. That's what you should do. But you can't say
Your
that the church has changed.
Tim, the document
That's
is
all.
contradicting is the argument.
No,
we don't care about
the document
Pius
doesn't
X.
contradict Catholicism. It might contradict J. Dyer or
I'm
no,
The document itself contradicts what you said earlier. You
Does
said that God is-
Catholicism hold that Islam is the same as Christianity?
Do you know what a precept is? What a logical axiom is? Logical axioms are pre-scriptural. So literally, the sense-reference dichotomy or the concept of proportional cause. These are things which pre
So sophistry,
preordained
deflections,
language.
getting
It's not
away from the
sophistry
actual-
to
It is
explain
sophistry.
something
is
to you don't
sophistry.
It's not,
understand.
no. You didn't
didn't
understand
say
this.
this.
You did 5 fallacies in a row.
You
dude.
said
Come on.
same. That would be
They adore.
heresy.
No,
The text
they
says
adore. Thank you,
God.
because that's what the argument of the text is, Tim. They adore the one God in Lumen Gentium 16.
In order for,
I
in
do
order
adore
for
the
your
one
argument
God.
to be
No,
correct,
they don't.
God
I
would
just
have to not
repeated
be a
you.
proper noun in
Okay,
that
let's-
sentence. And
I-
God is a
I
proper
believe
noun in that
that
sentence.
Muslims
We're gonna have
worship
to
the
mute
one
everybody.
God.
No, they don't.
I believe that as a Pius X
Is he doing
Catholic.
it? Is he muting everybody? I don't. Okay. I don't know what y'all are arguing at this point.
Can I state?
I just hear noise. Just hear yelling. Well, the
I
moment
don't
hear
the moment anyone talks, everyone just starts talking. And then when I was asking a question, you guys started having a different debate at the same
That's
time.
fair. That's a fair point. Can I say what I perceive the argument to be as somebody who's kind of outside of
Yeah,
it? at the moment?
let's just slow it down. Let him say it, and then we'll.
What I'm hearing from Jay is that passage reads that Muslims, by what the passage says, not literally, Muslims worship the same God that we do because it says they worship God, capital G, proper noun, and then that is followed up with a description of the Christian God.
Yes.
You are saying that this is correct because they do believe they worship the same God as us, therefore it's not incorrect. I would argue if it said they worship a God, you would be correct. But grammatically, it says they worship
Does
God.
a God exist outside of the one God?
It doesn't matter. They
No,
are
because
worshiping
there's another
something.
quote
You're not talking
that
about
answers
sense.
it.
You're
one
talking
second.
about
Let's-
reference.
Oh my God.
There's another quote that answers.
So yeah, read that next quote, but please don't interrupt us.
So Lumen Gentium.
'Cause I have a thought on this.
So there's another statement beyond Nostra Aetate 3, which is Lumen Gentium 16. It says the plan of salvation includes those that acknowledge the Creator, first among whom are the Muslims. They profess the faith of Abraham, and together with us, Catholics, they adore the one true God. That refutes you.
That doesn't refute me.
Hold
I agree with that.
on,
I hold that.
Together
Wait,
with
hold on,
us,
stop.
Catholics have
together
Guys,
with us,
guys,
refute your entire
hold on.
argument the last 20
Hold
minutes.
on,
not.
Hold on.
How does it
Absolutely
not?
not.
Together with us, Catholics.
I'll
Okay,
respond
wait.
afterwards.
Okay. Together with us, who are they referring to? Muslims?
Muslims and Catholics.
Okay.
Muslims and Christians. Yeah.
Catholics.
So the
Catholic
Catholics.
document.
the
Together
way-
with us.
This
Together with all
again,
monotheists.
Neither of our
It says
sects
together
believe
with
this.
us Catholics. What are you talking about?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you.
Why are you
okay,
lying?
I'm gonna say this right now, guys. To Orthodox and Anglican Catholic, everything you're saying is convincing me more and more of the Catholic argument.
How?
Because the position that this is taking, imagine it like this: there's a rock concert, an arena, stadium, and Catholics are all. Let's just say from the argument presented in this book, Catholics are all looking directly at the stage, and Muslims are in the back behind it, hearing a different bassy, garbled version of it. They're cheering for Freddie Mercury, but they're hearing some weird version of the song.
Exactly.
When I hear that, is what it's saying is that that all of these different religions are looking at they're doing things the wrong way towards the right God. and it's because there is only one God.
This is precisely the Catholic interpretation since Vatican II. Now, I admitted at the very outset that it's written by liberals, so it squints towards more conciliation, which is bad. But we have to say that Lumen Gentium, yeah, but after I'm done, Lumen Gentium and the other two sacred constitutions at Vatican II.
I wasn't asking
Okay, but don't just.
But you're using it
I
to
wasn't
interrupt.
asking for permission from
Tim's
you.
the Pope.
I'd be all for, by the way, muting while other guys are talking, because that's a really effective way of going.
It's still just yelling, though. You know what I mean?
But yeah, but I could sit here and be quiet. I'm just saying, as the Catholic,
Trump shouldn't have been muted either.
yeah, agreed. No, as the Catholic, that there has to be a distinction between monotheism and polytheism on the basis of natural religion. Everyone out there who's listening to this knows. Okay, there are three Abrahamic religions, which was posited by Lumen Gentium. There's Judaism, Islam, Christianity. That this is, community college intro to religions 101. There are polytheisms. There are only three monotheisms in the history of the world. Now, there's only one correct monotheism, which posits a triune God. They say that they get this wrong. This is repeated throughout the sacred constitutions of Vatican II, that Jews and Muslims, even though they're monotheists, they get it wrong. They don't worship a triune God. This is said countless times in the documents. But that's why we don't have the index, they believe, or they falsely think that. That language is reserved in the Vatican II documents for the polytheisms. So all they're doing there, and it's written by Jesuit liberals, we're squinting toward a bad interpretation. They say correctly they worship the one true God. Pius X says this in his personal catechism. He's a trad favorite. Two other medieval popes say the exact same thing. Whether J. Dyer or Laura Lodge likes it, this is the Catholic. This is the Catholic view.
Well, but he's branding. It's good. It's good branding.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to help you, Brandon. But with regard,
All right,
this is the last statement.
I'll
With regard to the polytheists, that's why they always say they falsely claim that, they falsely believe that, they falsely search for, they seek for. Okay, so the distinction is monotheist, polytheist.
This is correct, and I everything Tim said there we would agree with, except that from the Orthodox perspective, we reject the whole idea that there are Abrahamic monotheistic faiths. So even though Muslims might see themselves as that, when we look at the Old Testament revelation, we believe that it is the Trinity explicitly revealing itself in the Old Testament. They don't know the name per se of the word Trinity, but it's Yahweh, his angel messenger, and his spirit are revealed. And in John 5-9, when Jesus debates with the Pharisees, who were the monotheists, he consistently says, you don't get the right God, you don't get the right picture. Abraham worshiped me, Jesus says in John 8. He says Moses wrote about him, meaning that Abraham and Moses had faith in Christ. This is a key point to undo the natural theology argument that the Old Testament posited a generic theism of just a one monotheistic God. If Abraham believed in the Trinity, then the whole Abrahamic religion thing falls apart. And Jesus says that to have faith in him makes you a child of Abraham. Galatians 3, Paul says the exact same thing. So when Vatican II acknowledges that they have the faith of Abraham together with us, we believe that is a denial of Jesus' teaching in John 8 that you can be a child of Abraham without faith in Christ.
I get
That's
that.
the argument.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, real quick. So
just doesn't represent a change.
My response is kind of like, let's say we discover we can make intercontinental ballistic missiles and very powerful ICBMs. The modern American ICBM is 1,250 times stronger than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It is also possible that it is also true that India and Pakistan have nuclear weapons that are substantially weaker because they have not yet discovered the means and the capability by which to build such a powerful bomb. So I think it could be said that you may have discovered hidden truths and the true path towards God and religion, and Muslims are effectively using a 1 kiloton bomb when you got a megaton bomb. That's why
I think the argument would be that Muslims are openly rejecting Christianity.
So the point is that there are fundamentals that are absolutely essential to have access to God or to Christianity. So to deny, for example, the Trinity or the Incarnation puts us one outside of the bounds of Christianity at all.
But I agree that look at it this way. There's a bouncer at a club, and he says, if you follow the rules, you can come into the club, and half the people follow the rules and get let in, and the other half says, that guy's telling us to go bash the windows out, and they get thrown out. They thought that's what the guy wanted. It's the same guy, but they're doing it wrong.
Well, we do throw people out.
Right. My point is, when Vatican II says they worship God, it's like the bouncer being like, yo, I never told those people to throw bricks at the building. What are they doing?
Well, the problem is not just worship, but Vatican II uses the term of adoration, which in Catholic theology is more specific than just a generic idea of natural theology. Adoration is something that's a specific term for like adoring the Eucharist in Catholic theology. And I would also point out that in my opening statement, I mentioned the fact that the Council of Vienne, which is a medieval Roman Catholic theology, which was involved in the Crusades, that attitude today that you see here is completely different than the attitude then in the Middle Ages, where it was the abominable sect of Muhammad in the council. They call crusades against the Muslims to protect the Holy Land.
Sure, attitudes change, dogma does.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
How can you be the abominable sect of Muhammad, but now
the abominable sect of Muhammad.
but now together with us they adore the one true God? That's the contradiction, Tim.
They could be
are
the
these
abominable
both
sect of
dogmatic?
Muhammad and still worship one
No,
God.
they don't.
Jay.
Yeah, even by reference,
With us,
to true God.
with us, Tim.
Jay, can I ask? Are these both dogmatic councils?
Yeah,
Correct.
they're from Vatican II.
Okay, then dogma contradicts.
Okay,
That's the
real quick.
argument. Dogma
Okay,
contradicts.
guys.
That's
Just-
not
I got
true.
I got
That's
another,
simply and straightforwardly
I got
untrue.
another.
Council of
I got
Vienne.
another
It was
point.
also untrue when you said we don't have ordination, but that
I'm-
apparently doesn't matter today.
Well, let's
don't have
okay,
ordination
let's
that's
go there.
apostolic.
Let's
That's
go
a
there.
fact.
It goes back to Augustine.
How many years was
an
the jihad?
apostle.
How many years was the jihad?
Augustine's goes back to Peter.
Is that how? So the jihad goes from
No,
Augustine
no,
to Peter?
we're having a separate debate again.
Oh, because I asked a question about how many years was the jihad?
You mean from the rise of Islam?
The literal like jihad conquest across North Africa, the Middle East, Spain.
Moving westward, it was basically 100 years, 632 to 732. On the eastern side, it's not quite as linear because there's the immediate Arab move into the north, and then the Turks convert and they come back down south. So,
632 to 750, 118 years was when.
Battle of Tor is 732. That's kind of
that
the
was
reversal.
And then there were additional jihads in the 11th and 13th century
Yes.
for 200 years. And so I'm looking at the birth rate for Muslims, which is 3.1, as well as the hundreds of years of militaristic conquest under the banner of Islam. And like, how many battles of the Crusades were there?
There were a lot.
Like nowhere near as many as the Islamic Jihad.
I don't think that's true. I think there were a lot more battles. It really depends on how you define
Muhammad
battle.
fought in 78 battles, 78
alone.
battles,
Yeah,
wars.
there weren't
And-
that many in the Crusades as compared to the full total of Islamic Jihad. There were not as many battles during the Crusades.
Let's see, nine battles in the Crusades.
Yeah.
Over 200 years.
I would argue against that. Maybe 9 major battles.
Yeah. And then
How are they defining battles?
I don't know. There were 80 to 100 military expeditions in the first Islamic Jihad.
Yeah.
So in terms of birth rate and expansion, I mean, Islam's doing way better. Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.